Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. I'm doing a discussion today. After the additions of the Jackalope and Werewolf from the season passes, I decided to make a list of ideas for more creatures in Feral, which I've compiled into a list of 7. Some would suggest unicorns and pegasi, but I'm going for creatures that some may not have heard of or may not come to mind very often. I mean, when I started playing, I never heard of a Sancuary, which is a feline creature from Chinese folklore, and Japan has a similar creature called the Nekomata. I'm also taking accessory parts into account regarding my ideal creatures and how exactly they would work if they were to be playable creatures. And while I'm talking about my ideal creatures, I'll also be showing you a concept drawing of each creature which I drew so that you get an idea on the creature in question and how it may look, and don't take them for granted. So here are my 7 ideas for more creatures in Feral. Starting at number 1, the Wyvern. A Wyvern is another type of dragon. Only the main features about it is 2 wings and 2 legs. I assume people would want the more familiar Western dragon with 4 legs and a pair of wings. For me personally, I'm quite fond of Wyverns, and I think years of playing Monster Hunter may have contributed to that. Mentioning Monster Hunter in my Lakewood Valley video, the primary type of monsters you encounter are Wyverns. Even the series' mascot monster, the Rathalos, is a Wyvern. Other than appearances in video games, Wyverns do have their place in mythology, much like other dragons. Though typically Wyverns appear as symbols in emblems, most notably as a symbol for the Kingdom of Wessex. While Feral already has the Long Dragon, aka the Chinese Dragon, I think a variety of dragons would be nice to see in the game. As for accessories, only 2 out of the 9 body parts are to be debated, the ears and legs. I can't see ear accessories working much for the Wyvern. Perhaps they could add frills on the sides of the head to act as ears to make it work. As for the legs, leg accessories are built to be for quadrupedal creatures since every creature currently playable has 4 legs. So cuff accessories, for example, would appear on all 4 legs. As Wyverns only have 2 legs, I'm not sure how the leg accessories would work. But I can see shoulder accessories working fine. Just not sure about the accessories being fitted on the wings. Since the Wyvern is a creature capable of flight, it makes me wonder if flight would be possible as a way to travel the realms in the Expanse and fly over some of the boundaries within the realms, like some of the cliffs in Lakewood Valley, which I, and some others, find unnecessary. But of course, still prevent players from flying into areas that are closed and out of bounds. I mean, the Long Dragon is always flying and is always just above the ground and never flying off into the sky. Overall, I think the Wyvern would be an excellent addition to the game, if some of the issues, mainly the accessories, can be worked around. At number 2 is a creature from my country of Australia, the Bunyip. The Bunyip is a creature from Australian Aboriginal mythology, a water beast of monstrous size, usually lurking in many bodies of water such as swamps, lakes, and rivers. This creature usually only has a place in Australian culture, mostly among Aborigines, rarely appearing in other media. We have an attraction at Murray Bridge, South Australia, which is an animatronic bunyip that would rise out from beneath the water and let out a loud roar. I've never seen it myself since I'm not in South Australia, but it looks really neat. I'm saying that for the attraction itself, as the bunyip in it is an ugly looking one. But here's the thing. Unlike most other monsters and creatures in mythology and folklore, the bunyip has no official description. So the physical description of the bunyip can vary greatly. It could look like a hairy mammalian beast, a ferocious reptilian monster, or an ugly amphibious creature. So if Wildworks wanted to add the bunyip to the game as a playable creature, they can make it look like anything they want. So it works out perfectly for them. What I'm showing you is my depiction of the bunyip, a large feline-like monster with webbed feet donning massive black claws. Using my drawing of the bunyip as a reference regarding accessories, the bunyip ticks every box for body parts, so the bunyip would work very well as a playable creature. Especially since Wildworks can make it look however they want and make it work. As a personal thing, I'll admit, I've had nightmares about the bunyip, and most likely the Aborigines did so too before the Europeans arrived. They might still do, I don't know. To have the bunyip added in Feral would be great, even a great opportunity to include creatures from many different regions. Number 3. This idea is my personal favourite, a Serpent. Now, there are so many things about snakes and serpents in so many mythologies and legends around the world. Some of which include the rainbow serpent, also from Australian Aboriginal mythology, Jormungandr from Norse mythology, and Apep from ancient Egyptian mythology. And in symbolism, the most prominent one is the Ouroboros. And one other thing, this painting of the rainbow serpent I'm showing you is a painting that I painted myself. I made a recreation of it in Animal Jam Classic, which you can see in my den and on my wall. Because the creatures in Feral are from or based on mythological creatures, the serpent would fit in nicely. But how it would work as a playable creature is up for debate, especially with the accessories. The most obvious issue is that there are no legs, shoulders, and ears for those accessory parts. The only way I see this working is if Wildworks added some sort of compatibility mechanic for particular creatures, as in, for example, making leg accessories incompatible with a creature that has no legs. There's also the fact that some back accessories are also shoulder accessories, so maybe some back accessories can work while others can't. But it seems like Wildworks didn't have that problem when they added a python to Animal Jam, the one previously called Play Wild, as a playable animal, and still made it be able to wear shoes. So maybe they could make something work for the serpent. How they would is entirely up to them. I'm also thinking, as a head mod, they should add the hood as seen on Cobras as an option for players if it was added as a playable creature. On the whole mythological and symbolic side of it, I think the serpent would be absolutely perfect for Feral. But practically, again, how it would work as a playable creature is up for debate. But I do hope something like the serpent gets added as a playable creature. Snakes are one of my most favourite animals, and be able to play as one would be awesome. Number 4. This one is something my girlfriend suggested when I told her about my ideas for other creatures in Feral. This one's not a mythical creature, more of a cryptid. If you don't know what a cryptid is, it's a creature which existence is disputed, but hundreds of people see them. You know, creatures like Bigfoot and the Loch Ness Monster. The creature I'm talking about in this entry is, and sorry to the arachnophobes watching this, the Jabbar Fofi. Essentially, it's a giant tarantula hailing from the Congo in Africa, as then also known as the Congolese giant spider, and stories about them have been told by the native Baka people. Now, they're not overly massive in size like kaiju sized. Information on their size is quite hazy. Give or take on who's documenting them, they're said to be the size of large dogs to small houses. There's not much of the Jabbar Fofi in mythology since, as I mentioned before, they're cryptids. So they may exist, or not. Highly likely most of you are hoping the latter. The natives have also said they used to be common all around the area, and in most of Africa, but their population has dramatically declined because of loss of habitat from humans and prey becoming scarce. Now, as a playable creature in Feral, I don't know what people or Wildworks for that matter would think. There are spiders in some mythologies though, notably Arachne from Greek mythology, the ancient Sumerian goddess Utu, even a spider-like race of yokai in Japanese folklore called the Tsuchigumo. So there's that aspect of spiders for Feral. As for accessories in reference to my drawing, this is a tough one. The leg accessories are a guaranteed yes because of 8 legs, but leg accessories are usually in 2 components, 1 pair for the front legs and 1 pair for the back. The only way I can see the leg accessories working is having the front pair on the first 2 pair of legs and having the back pair on the last 2 legs and ignoring the 4 legs in between. But it's mainly the head part which I'm most lost on. Could the Jabbar Fofi wear head accessories? It could definitely wear face accessories, I just don't know on the head. What about the back? Would it wear them on the same part which it has its face? Or would it wear them on the abdomen? Though I mainly see the tail accessories being on the abdomen instead. As for the shoulders, I think it could probably work, just have them at the base of the legs from the body. And of course, no ears and neck. Unless they added 1 extra part to the body for a head, the head and neck accessories could work. Regarding the accessories, it was tricky to determine if a giant spider like the Jabbar Fofi would work. But I still think to see something like a giant spider as a playable creature would be interesting in my opinion. It just depends on how it's implemented really. Number 5 is a creature from Greek mythology, the Minotaur. No introduction is needed for this one, as it's one of the most prominent creatures of Greek mythology. the half-man, half-bull creature which dwelled in the center of the labyrinth and was eventually slain by Theseus. Usually in most fantasy settings, a Minotaur is most likely to make an appearance somewhere, either as a singular character or as a race. Given its prominence in mythology and fantasy alike, I think the Minotaur is a good candidate for a playable creature in Feral. And, in my reference to my concept drawing, it ticks every box for accessory parts, so no issues there. However, there is one issue for it though. The Minotaur is pretty much always male, so I'm not sure what opinion players or Wildworks would have having a creature that's only one gender. Then again, Animal Jam has lions as playable animals, and they have the mane, which only the male lions have. So perhaps Wildworks could make an exception with the Minotaur. And it's not like we're obligated to play as the creature if it was added to the game. I mean, if some players really wanted to, even some female players, they can play as the Minotaur. I know that some girls would choose to play as a male character in other games. So if we wanted to keep the whole gender-neutral balance of the game, the Minotaur may not fit well in that regard. But if we're going to leave out that issue, then I reckon the Minotaur would be a good creature to add. Number 6, also from Greek mythology, a Harpy. These are one of the nasty buggers, as they will steal food from whoever they choose to bother, carry people away, which was said to be the reason why people suddenly disappeared, and would have also tortured them while carrying them to Tartarus. I'm not sure if Harpies are just as famous as the Minotaur, but they do have their place not only in mythology, but fantasy as well. In that regard, the Harpy would fit in well as a playable creature. As with the accessories, however, it's the shoulders and legs which may be a problem. As I said before, the leg accessories are mainly built to be fitted on quadrupedal creatures, and Harpies, pretty much being an eagle with the head of a woman, have 2 legs. As for the shoulders, I don't know if they'd be compatible. Unless we're counting the base of the wings as shoulders, then they could work. Also, the Harpy faces the same kind of problem as the Minotaur, only the fact that Harpies are always female. But similar to what I said before, the players can play as a female character if they really wanted to. I have friends who like to play as female characters in other games. But besides that, and in my overall opinion, I think the Harpy would be a good addition. I mean, in some fantasy games I've seen and played, there was either a Harpy, Minotaur, or both. Since Feral is based around mythical creatures, I wouldn't see a reason not to add them, especially if they work out the issues regarding them. Lastly, at number 7, a Gargoyle. I'm pretty sure everyone, if not at least most people around the world, know what a Gargoyle is. Usually seen as those stone sculptures on old and historical buildings. In that regard, they're not only a decoration, but they're used to divert the flow of rainwater away from the mortar, which is the paste that holds the buildings in place, to prevent erosion. In the mythical and spiritual aspects, gargoyles are protectors. Despite the ugly or frightening appearances they may have, they're anything but evil. They keep demons and evil spirits away and protect people and places from such evil beings. So pretty much the main reason to be truly frightened of a gargoyle just by seeing one, as if you're a demon or evil spirit. Though there is the occasional evil gargoyle, but that's more of a modern depiction of them for the sake of an evil creature, usually in fantasy. So I think, along with the Serpent, the Gargoyle is a perfect candidate for Feral as a playable creature. It's one of the most recognizable creatures in real life, mythology, and fiction, and in reference to my concept drawing, it ticks every box for accessory parts, so absolutely no issues regarding accessories. To have the Gargoyle in Feral would be great, because I think there wouldn't be any possible reason not to include it, given the whole mythological aspect of it, but it's all up to Wildworks to decide. So those are my 7 ideal creatures for Feral. One other thing I know is that all the creatures currently in the game have horns, and some of the ideal creatures I showed you don't have horns at all, such as the Serpent, Jabbar-Fofi, and the Harpy, nor did I include them in the concept drawings. Well, Kitchenays, Centuries, and Werewolves in their respective mythologies and folklore don't have horns, but they were still given them when they were released. Besides, we're able to disable or enable horns on the creatures as part of the player customizable aspect of the game. As for the Bunyip, it can have horns as Wildworks can make it look however they want. Anyways, tell me in the comments what you think of my ideal creatures I have showed you today, and if possible, tell me what ideal creatures you may have for Feral. Hopefully some of these ideas make it to the game. Could be more possible for some of them if Wildworks themselves saw this list. Not sure if that would happen though. But if none of these ideal creatures make the cut, then it is what it is. They're only ideas to consider anyways. Thank you all for watching. If you have Feral, follow me, and I'll follow you. Until then, farewell.